All right, guys, welcome back to the Deal Finders podcast, and I'm so excited today to introduce you to a good friend of mine. We've met a few times through the real estate networking groups that we're in, and so now he's here for the podcast to help talk to you guys about mobile homes. This is Mr. Adrian Smude, and he's the guy I would call if I had mobile home questions, but he does so much more than that. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Adrian, give us a quick rundown of who you are, where you're from, and then let's talk about some deals. So who are you?
Andrew, thanks for having me on here. As you said, I'm Adrian Smude. I am from Central Florida, in between Tampa and Orlando, in a little town called Plant City. We are the winter strawberry capital of the world. And I grew up
Ah,
here. I'm a native to Florida, so that's a kind of a rare breed down here. How did I get
yes,
in real
sir.
estate, though? I was a tenant. So I lived in a home, and I was a really bad tenant. The person you don't want to rent to. We had spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties. We parked a motorcycle in the living room. That's all for another day to talk about all those fun stories.
That's another podcast in itself.
Yeah, but the reason I bring all that up is because I had a problem. We were being evicted again. Now, this is like 20
Oh,
years ago, and I had a person in my life that said it was a mortgage broker. He said, "Why don't you buy a house?" So I didn't know what I was doing. I bought a house at 20 years old.
yeah.
And then I rented it to the same friends that helped me get evicted. And I lived for free. And that was just a game changing moment in my life once I realized that. I didn't realize it in the moment how awesome it was. And fast forward a few years, I lost my second home as a short sale. I bought it wrong. I was renting it wrong. I was only listening to the banks. I didn't have any outside influence of from the investor community. Fast
Hmm.
forward more years, I got back into the real estate world and I ended up at a RIA. And that's where I really started learning what the banks weren't telling me. And I
Yeah.
fell in love with them. I eventually got into the mobile home world after having some rentals at single families. But once I tasted the mobile homes, the cash flow, I've shifted all of my business over to single unit mobile homes with the dirt. So a homeland package. So I own the dirt and the home, and it's one unit. It's not a big park or anything. And I rent them out.
Yeah.
And that's my main business today.
Yeah. Dude, that's incredible that you just flew right over the fact that you said spaghetti wrestling. Okay, this is not that podcast, but you just roll through it like, oh yeah, normal thing. Just we had spaghetti wrestling and motorcycle in the front yard, front living room, not the
Yeah.
yard. So, first of all, I gotta so we can back this up for folks that are listening to this. This podcast, generally people that are trying to get started, get their first, second deal, but they're looking for financial freedom through real estate. And so we like to help them find those deals that'll get them there. So, uh, in the beginning, what did you have a job? You were 20 years old. What year was this? Was this pre 2008
Oh
ish?
yeah. It was 2000. I'm bad at my numbers. 2003, I think it was.
Yep.
Something like
Okay.
that. I timed the market pretty point on, but the opposite you're supposed to. I bought my second house at the top of that last market. You're talking about the 2008, and I
Yep.
sold it almost at the bottom of it at about a 50%
Yeah.
loss, that short sale I mentioned. But what did I do
Wow.
for a living? I worked at Walmart at the time. I've had very
Yeah.
few real jobs. I'm putting quotes for the people that are just listening. Uh, I've done a lot of contract work and different fun jobs over my time, but very few steady things that banks like, which ended up being a
Yeah.
blessing between that and that short sale because it made me have to learn this outside world, the non-bank world,
Yeah.
which is one reason I ended up at ARIA. And like I said, I just fell in love with people instead of banks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to put that out there so people, you can get a mortgage. It was probably much easier then,
Oh yeah.
but it's still possible to go out there and get a mortgage. And you mentioned something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody say or articulate this way, but it makes so much sense is don't listen to the bank. When you had a mortgage broker friend, you probably weren't the right person to get a house that first time but you had tenants to help pay for it,
Yep.
right? If you would have looked at your income versus the cost of that house, probably wasn't
You're
correct.
being very
You probably
generous, Andrew. It was not correct.
okay. I don't want to speak too harsh, but your financials working at Walmart at 20 years old probably did not um, support buying that home, right?
Correct.
But that banker put you in there, and you had tenants. Thankfully, you had tenants. You had roommates that paid the bills, right? Fast forward a couple years later, house probably you had to pay more for. Again, a banker put you in, and what happened? You lost
Yeah.
it,
And
right?
I was renting it out by the room. So the whole house hacking thing, I didn't know that was a thing. But I was
Yeah,
renting by the room, which would be, I would say, equivalent to the Airbnb world today, where you're maxing out the dollars for that home. It's more than a single family. And I was
yeah,
still losing a little bit every month with that maxing it out.
yeah,
But the plan
yeah.
was in a few years, you refinance.
That was the plan. That's what the banks told you.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. Like you, you can't. We were groomed. We were taught as we grew up. Go to the bank. Listen to the bank. The bank knows what to do with your money. And now, as I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, why would I put my money in their account, their savings account, for them to lend it out, and they give me 0.001, and they're giving it to someone else and making 5-6%. And that's just another piece of it. But they also give you advice and give so many homeowners advice or home buyers advice that didn't pan out in 2008.
And,
So
I'll go on their defense a tiny bit. They do have some good advice, but don't do like I did. At least go and get a second and third opinion, which is one of the many reasons I always keep going back to why I love RIAs. I love the
yeah,
meetings because I can go and ask people that I build relationships like, hey, does this sound legit what the bank is saying? And you have the people in the business a long enough time, they're like, I've seen this story before. Here's how it usually plays out. And it could be good,
yep,
it could be bad.
yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is so thankfully you made it to a RIA, right?
Yes.
And that you just explained kind of how that changed your viewpoint, right?
Yeah. I love them because I get that information, but I build bonds and friendships. And now when I have a problem, I don't have to go and search. I don't have to get on online forums. And I do that sometimes still. But I can go to someone. I know people at my RIAs, the local ones, and then now all over the country. But when it's a local
Yeah,
issue, or like, hey, I really don't know this street, I can usually find someone I know that owns in that area, and they can tell me, oh yeah, this is the type of quality. It, those
yeah,
bonds and information you can't learn anywhere else.
yeah. And so, yeah, we have our local meetup, and you were so gracious to come and speak, and everyone loved it. They were like, "Who's that guy again with the yellow shirt?" So
You got a fun group.
everyone loved you coming. Yeah, we had fun, and yeah, so I am right there with you, man. That's the local meetup, our Deal Finders Live here in our market, but they're everywhere, right? There is a local meetup somewhere near you. If you were trying to find a deal or you're already in this business, you got to get in and meet people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me, because we like to give some tips and some steps, some actionable tips that people can take. You're the mobile home guy. That's what I think of you for. You wrote the book on it, right? Somewhere. There we
Yep.
go.
How to buy mobile
How to
homes.
buy a mobile home. So tell me about the first mobile home house or deal that you found. How did you find it?
Well, let's go ahead and say I've already had owned about a handful of single family homes. So I'd done a little bit, but I still didn't
Okay.
know anything about mobile homes. I was switching to that niche. Sorry, I was entertaining that niche. How about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the seasoned investors had talked about it, and I had that fear of that short sale. So I was a little more cautious. I'm at my RIA. I'd made a friend at the RIA, Jessica, and one of the nights, Jessica's like, my broker has someone that needs to sell their old mobile home. Are you interested? I said, sure, I'll go look at
Okay.
it. I went and walked it with them. It was a 1965 single wide. It essentially had everything wrong that people would tell you don't buy. It had an
Okay.
addition
Yeah.
to it. The septic was underneath the back porch. One of the bedrooms, you had to walk through a bedroom into another bedroom. Uh, it's a 1965. Like I already mentioned that. Like People don't buy
Yeah.
those. This is a scary
No.
thing. Why would you ever buy this, Adrian? I was uncomfortable being comfortable at that moment in my life.
Yeah.
I lived in a nice house. I have a good, decent life, but I wanted more. I wanted that freedom, and I knew there was more, and I didn't want
Yeah.
to compromise my integrity again with the short sale. I didn't want to ever put myself in that situation. So the numbers looked pretty
Yeah.
good of what I could buy it for, rent it for, and I'll get into those in a second. So I decided I am going to buy this with the rest of my savings and either make
Yeah.
it and do really well, or I'm going to splat and have a big fail.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell my wife at the time that this was the plan, but I had read about so many super successful people had that big story. And I said, I'm either going to invoke that to happen or I'm going to do really well with it. Luckily, the really well worked out. So I
Yeah.
bought it for about $16,000. I made some mistakes because I didn't get any real coaching on it. I just kind of went and did it. I talked to some of the seasoned guys and girls, made some mistakes, but I ran it for $475 a month. Like, we don't really need a calculator to realize, yeah, your face is showing it. That's good enough numbers.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that on a
Oh
napkin.
yeah.
So, of course, I went and bought more because, I mean, this was working. And I
Yeah.
kept doing it over and over because I realized I stumbled into this gold mine. So I started selling off these site built homes that this time I was in the way, or I was going with appreciation. So I had some equity. So I got lucky.
Yeah.
You know, I got unlucky the first time and I got lucky the second time. But
That's right.
that's how I just started buying them, and not many people were doing it. You know, there's less people in that niche, so I didn't have to do as heavy marketing. I didn't have to compete with as many people with it.
Yeah. So there's a lot there, and I want to just kind of go back to the beginning and highlight the fact that you didn't pay for marketing. The way you found that deal was talking to people, introducing yourself, meeting people at the local meetup, and just telling them that you're interested. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm buying. Or you probably, I don't know if you said mobile home yet, but you said, I'm looking for something, and she brought it to you, right? So, guys and gals, if you're listening to this, that is literally step number one. To being a deal finder is going to the meetup and telling people, I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for something to buy. Come to me, let me know, call me, text me, whatever it is. Let me look at it, all right? Because for you, it may have been completely wrong for everyone else, but it was perfect for you right then, right?
And Andrew, it still is. My number one lead
Yeah.
source is still referrals. I tell everyone what I do. I'm a broken record. So my buying brand, as you know, is My Wife Buys Mobile Homes. I wear a neon yellow shirt that says that anytime I'm in my local market, and the regulars at the meeting almost roll their eyes because I won't shut up. Every meeting, I talk about it because there's one new person there, at least.
Yep.
And they need to know what
Yep.
I do because they
Oh
might
yeah.
come across a mobile home. Every realtor needs to know. Everyone needs to know because that's how I help people.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And you get leads and deals without sending thousands of postcards, without a huge website, and what else do we do? Cold calling and texting, all these things. Your business is supported by referrals, by being intentional about telling people
And,
that you're
and
here.
consistent. I show up to pretty much every meeting. I'm not going to say I've never missed one, but I don't show up every 3 months, every 6 months. People forget about me. I'm the broken record
Yeah,
over and over and over.
love it,
No matter what the topic
love it.
is. Some people don't show up because, oh, I'm not interested in notes. Well, you're still there to network.
Yeah, that's why I'm there. I'm there to meet people, right? I love that, man. I love that. So, so you're still in the game. What are you doing now? So let's fast forward. That was a few years ago. What are you doing now?
We're buying still today. We bought one last week. We buy the single units with the dirt. That's what we're doing. We're buying them and renting them. Now, I buy the scary ones to even the mobile home investors, the 1960s and 1970s. We like those, but recently the market's changed a little bit, and that little niche in my area has gotten more competitive. So I've bought what to me is very new, a 1999. Like some people still say, "Oh, that's
Ooh,
still so old." Well, I actually own a 1999 now. That's a brand new one to me. But the numbers worked. We're using the same formula. I am paying a little bit more for that. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit less ROI. I'm definitely paying more dollars, but my return on
Yeah.
investment's a little lower because I have a better end product already starting out with,
Yeah.
and we're renting them. I'm a buy and hold investor. I like the money
Mhm.
coming in every single month. I'm not good at fix
Yeah.
and flipping. There's lots of people that are great at it. I've done an accidental fix and flip. I respect it. I'm just not good at it. So I do what I'm good
Just
at.
not that good. Yeah, I love it. Hey, well, since I got you on the line here, and I told you if I had questions, I would call you.
Yeah.
So I have a question. We have this mobile home deal. Let's talk about it. If this is what it looks like, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it, right? It's a house. It's a 1999. She has a mortgage on it still, so like we got to pay more than I really want to pay. So generally, we wouldn't pay more than $20,000 for a mobile home, right?
Okay.
Like pretty cheap stuff. But this is on land, an acre of land. We can get the land apart from it. She's renting it, but the owner will sell it to us. So if we got the whole package at 60,000, and now we know it'll rent for like 1,200. Those numbers are great,
Hmm.
but it's a mobile home. So is it the same as valuing a house?
Because you have that 1999, it's a newer product. It is bank financeable. It's not the super easy bank financeable, but it is. I don't know in South Carolina the exact code for the tie downs and straps, but most
Right.
likely that is up to code because in Florida it's actually older than that is when they did the major code change. So you want to check the code no matter where you're at on that. Um, I'll tell you, I would. Here's a question back at you. How much is the land worth? Because I look at that in this scenario. Is the land worth 30,000? Is it worth 60? Is it worth 10?
So the land is probably worth 15 to 20,
Okay.
which is what we think we can pay for it. Like I don't think we'll get a discount on it. Maybe we haven't asked for the discount yet. The seller of the mobile home, the seller of the property has already said to the mobile home person, "Hey, we'll sell you this for this." So
Is the mobile home and the land owned by the same person? Are you buying both?
yeah, they're separate.
Oh, okay. So you're looking to buy
So we
just,
have to buy them separate.
you're going to buy both though. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So if we bought them both, we'd be all in about 60.
maybe to reword it a little bit, you were essentially going to buy a single unit mobile home park so the dirt, and then you're going to have the home. So there's two separate kind of pieces going on here
Yeah.
for people. Um,
Yep.
I would definitely be looking at that. As long as I like the dirt, that's a big piece of it because you can still get really strong winds where you're at if you had a big Cat 5 hurricane to come through, and
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
probably one of your biggest risks there. If you had a big tree leaning right over it, now you have that big risk of that. But I want to see what my big risk of the home is. If it got flattened
Okay.
out and now all I own is this dirt. If I like that scenario, because it's not the biggest chance of that happening, but we want to play that out, then I would still
Right.
go forward. I would most likely buy those numbers here where I'm at. I'll give you a similar
Okay.
one, the one that we just closed on last week. We're paid $97,000 for it,
Wow.
and that's a half an acre of land, a 1999. We are going to
Hmm.
put 5,000 into it. Let's just say we're going to have 10,000 between closing costs, repairs, and we're gonna rent it 1,500 to 1,700, kind of in that range. I believe the land
Yeah.
is worth 70,000, somewhere in those. So we're not real far off to what you're talking
Okay.
about. Now, where I'm at in my stage of the game, that's my lotto ticket, that dirt.
Yeah.
Would I have
Yeah.
done this 3, 4 years ago when I was building? No. This is a deal I would have wholesaled. So if it's a
Sure.
newbie listening, doesn't mean you couldn't buy it. Maybe partner with someone like you that understands it. But I
Yeah.
would be that point in my life. I needed cash flow and less risk. You can take
Mhm.
the risk if this one deal goes bad. I'm at the point now where I can do the same thing, and my
Yeah.
land is kind of in the path of progress. So I look at those as my lotto tickets. It's not
Yes.
the best cash flow in the world, but 10 years, maybe I get a big payout. And I'm willing to,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
better than the lotto ticket the state runs.
That's well, hey, it's a big jackpot right now. So that what I'm hearing you say is, all things considered, kind of if it's maybe maybe not, your deciding factor is how do you like the dirt? Is the dirt on the upswing, or is the dirt down a dirt road with the junkyard and bad neighbors and the stuff out in the
Yep.
country where nothing's coming? So is that what I'm hearing?
That with the caveat of where am I at in my investing career, because that's going to help dictate some of that.
Sure,
We're
sure.
and when we finish recording this and it produces, we're both going to be in a different spot then because we change every day because circumstances
Yeah.
change. So I I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's an important piece for people to get, especially when they're starting out. We tend to compare ourselves to people who already have it all, and we're buying different stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of that, you got the T-shirt on, and if y'all are listening to this, you can go over to the YouTube channel, the Deal Finders YouTube channel, to watch this, and you'll see his awesome neon green or yellow shirt, whatever that is. So, can you tell everybody what that is? The Lifestyle REI. What is that?
So the Lifestyle REI is my education platform for me to be passing on, first of all, like happiness, smiles, and joy in people's businesses. That's one reason it's the bright neon yellow to kind of insinuate sunshine, and I like attention. But it's where
Yeah.
I'm teaching from my success, my failures, what I've actually done and did wrong, as we talked about, passing on what I learned from my mentors, what I learned from all over the country. Every time I get to speak somewhere, I get to learn there too. It's one of the benefits, and I'm teaching on what I actually do. So mobile homes is one of my biggest topics, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. I'm very intentional on where I speak, how I speak, and because it has to
Yeah.
be fun as well as adding value.
Yeah, which is awesome because remember you when you came here, you went and visited a friend that was sick you hadn't seen for years. So like your lifestyle is dictating where your business goes versus the opposite.
Exactly. So last year I traveled from April till October, and every city I went to speak at, I had a friend in that city. I had some opportunities to go to other cities, and I basically kind of made them like they had to win me over. I'm like, I don't have any friends in that city. Why should I go? I'm not going to be as
Yeah,
picky forever, but I'm intentional. I want to go and visit my friends.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I love that. We talked a lot about that, and I don't know if you still do it. I think you said you don't even have your cell phone on. You can't call you. It's
Yep.
like when you want to work, you want to work. So, guys, yes, you can't start the business. You can't jump into the business, especially entrepreneurial journey, with your cell phone off. But that can be the goal, right? As you're building your business, think about your lifestyle, and eventually the lifestyle can come first while the business is running. So I love that. We talked a lot about that while you were here. So I wanted to bring it up for everybody else. So back to the newbies, right? Back to people just getting started or growing this part of their business where they're actively looking for deals. What would be your one parting advice for that person that's trying to find a deal today?
Figure out what shiny object you like because you're probably in the shiny object syndrome time. Uh,
Yeah.
Set a time limit. I'm going to pick something by X date, and I don't think it should be longer than 6 months. And go with that
Hmm.
topic for 6 months to a year, only that topic. And really, it was my theme of last year. Take massive, imperfect action and ask for help.
Hmm.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
one reason we come to the RIAs. You know who the mobile home investors are. If that's the niche you pick, you take some classes on it. You go and you take a little action. You mess up a little bit. You go ask for help. You go back to your materials. You don't just say, "Oh, I messed up a little bit. I'm gonna go to apartments," and then you mess up a little bit. And you go over like we don't make
Yeah.
progress there. We get really good at one thing, and then we can add on the second item, the third item, the fourth. But we got to get good at something first, and then you get known for it as
I,
well. So massive, imperfect action and ask for help.
I love that. I love that. And do it and join that local meetup, the RIA, whatever it is, association. because that's where you can ask for help, right? I love that. All right, Adrian, this is where we're going to come to the end. Y'all, I know that there's been some incredible value here. I hope y'all were taking notes and listening to Adrian. Adrian, if they want to reach out to you or ask questions, where would our listeners find you?
You can find all my information at adrians360.com. So it's ADRIANS, then the numbers 360.com. And that has links to my books, my social media. A message is the best way to get a hold of me because, like you said, my phone is on Do Not Disturb indefinitely. So sending a message and help out as I can, and I'm here to help.
Awesome, man. Hey, guys, thank y'all for joining us on the Deal Finders podcast. I hope you got something out of this. And listen, if you are out there trying to find your next deal and you need some help, right, go to that local meetup. You got to do it. But if you're looking for a community that may not be local, online, or you need some instruction, you want to go to our website, dealfindersclub.com. That way you can see what we have going on. We have some instruction there, and you can apply to be a part of our club, all right? So listen, we will see you on the next podcast. Again, thanks, Adrian, for joining us. We'll see y'all later. Bye.